Hey everybody, welcome to the April meeting of the Bucks County Aquarium Society. Nice to see you all again. Start with our announcements. As far as fishy business coming up, there is still not much. Most in-person meetings are canceled, obviously. Bucks County will remain online until we announce otherwise, as speakers, donations, venue, and many members do continue to be impacted at this time, but we'll certainly be active on Facebook, online, and definitely check online for different online meetings and auctions. And I do want to call to your attention that there is a virtual convention coming up. The NEC is having a virtual convention, and that is April 23rd through 25th. So if you're interested in that, definitely check that out. Our speaker today is also going to be speaking at that event. So if you like what you see today, definitely come back and see him again. There's also tentative plans for the Keystone Clash this year. So there is a save the date, there is a venue. So you can kind of optimistically plan to do that. Hopefully everything will be okay for September. But as always, stay safe. As always, be safe. Practice your social distancing, wash your hands, wear a mask. Bucks County is in vaccine stage A1. So if you're in healthcare, if you're over 65 years old, you have a high-risk condition, if you're a law enforcement, firefighter, grocery worker, food or agricultural worker, you can go set yourself up for an appointment now. So just so you know. And then 1B starts on Monday. So if you're on the next stage, you can sign up soon. And I know you are all very, very sick of this slide. You've seen it for about a year, but we're in the home stretch. So stay safe, stay the course, and hopefully we'll all get through this in one piece. And in the meantime, start counting your fish. If you currently have more fish now than at the start of the pandemic, think about submitting those breeders award points for what you've bred. The BAP paperwork is on the website, so you can print that out and submit it when we meet again, or talk to me. You can have an email. BAP points from early 2020 will be applied to 2021. And as always, if you are a Bucks County member, or if you're local to Bucks County and you're low on supplies or unable to get out, just contact me. Stay safe. We'll help you out. You can also connect, as always, on Facebook. We're very, very active. And I think by now you know, but anyone who is active for 2020 would have been renewed for 2021. We will send out new membership cards soon as things kind of open up. You might be able to visit some sponsor stores, so we'll get those out to you. Our raffle prize today is a $50 gift certificate to Pets Plus and a fish food prize pack of Omega-1 Super Color Flakes, a 12-ounce canister. So make sure that you say hello in the YouTube chat if you're a Bucks County member. Make sure Sherry can see you so you're properly entered into the raffle. And our speaker today, Luiz Tencatt, speaking on From Waterfalls to Temporary Pools, the art of sampling plecos in the Rio Paraguay Basin. Luiz holds a Bachelor in Biological Sciences by the Universidade Federal Mato Grosso do Sul, as well as a Master's and Doctorate degree by the Postgraduate Program in Ecology of Continental Aquatic Environments, Universidade Estadual de Maringá Research Center in Limnology, Ichthyology, and Aquaculture. He is currently a Junior Postdoctoral Fellow at the Ichthyology Laboratory of the Universidade Federal de Mato do Sul and Substitute Professor at the Universidade Estadual de Mato Grosso do Sul. He started his studies in ichthyology in March 2007, and since 2011, he devotes his life taxonomy. You're all probably laughing at me right now, I'm sorry. Was also part of his studies with a greater emphasis on Hypostomus. Currently, he has described about 20 fish species distributed in more than 30 scientific articles. Definitely, you're probably going to want to have questions at the end for this one. I'll turn it over now to Luiz here.
Hello, thank you. Sorry for the difficult names in Portuguese.
It's all good.
Thank you.
I'm going to pop out.
Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm always happy to talk with you. To me, it's really a great pleasure to see some of my friends in the chat. I want to say hello to everyone, and I'm very happy to have my friend Rob McClure in this presentation today. Really, I'm quite curious to know why you like to hear my stories, because I am a taxonomist and I'm not exactly someone linked with the hobby. Well, I have a tank in my house with some Plecos and some Piabas, like Hypostomus and things like that, but nothing close to what you do. So sometimes I'm just curious to know why you like to hear my crazy stories, but I'm happy you want to. I want to talk about basically what I'm doing since March 2007. I really like to know what we have in our water bodies in Brazil, and I live in central Brazil, so this is where I am placing more efforts to know the fishes. And I also want to thank you, Mark and Kelly, for the help and for the patience with me. I know I have sometimes late replies, but I hope everything goes just fine. And Jeremy, here too, Daniel, good friends. Well, let's talk about Plecos. I hope you all can see my slide. This was an idea to talk about Plecos because everyone calls me to talk about Corydoras, but some of you may know that my first passion in ichthyology was Hypostomus. So I started working in taxonomy because of Hypostomus, basically. And I'm devoting a lot of my studies to this group too. And I really hope you like this presentation. Let's see a little bit about my life. So we have here South America, as you all know. This is the area I am working and living. This is basically the Pantanal region and some of the upper portions, which are not exactly Pantanal, but they are very important to the Pantanal. I'm living in the uplands, and most of the fishes of these regions, they also occur in the Pantanal, but we have some endemic species to these uplands. So I'm here to basically show fishes from Pantanal, but not only. We also have some endemic species from the upper portions. This is the team. We work. Basically, we have generally these guys with me, but we also have some special guests. You see today a trip that I did with Hans Evers, and I also receive other guys, including hobby people, to collect fish and to learn a little bit of my routine. So these guys, they are with me generally in the field, and thanks to this help, we can know a little bit more about the fishes from the Rio Paraguay Basin. So what we need to do a collecting trip, basically everything is in this picture. So you need buckets, you need nets, and you need some special clothes. As you can see, I don't know if you're familiar with mosquitoes and the heat and mites and a lot of flying, biting things that we have to deal. So you need to protect yourself. We have obviously we need some nice trucks, pickups to do the job, and some kind of amateur photographic studio in the truck. So you can see here that we need to get a lot of stuff to do what we do. Not only the material to get the fish, but we also want to photograph everything in life. And this is very important because before knowing hobby people, we were not really interested in spending time and money with photos in life because first, it's difficult, it's expensive. The photographic material is quite expensive in Brazil. I don't know for you, but here in Brazil they have it's not so easy to get material. So you need to have a little bit of money to have a good equipment, and we now plan to make photographs of everything. And this was basically something we changed because of the hobby. My work today is basically everything we do today is basically thinking about what hobby people will think about these articles, because basically you are my public. My friends, my colleagues, they don't have time to read my stuff, and most of my readers are you. So we obviously want to prepare good stuff for you. And this is a lot of hard work. As you can see, we keep the fish alive here in this big blue box. And then we start to make some photographs in the field. When I'm alone, I cannot do this. This is my friend Heriberto. Some of you may know him. He's also a Pleco guy, and he likes to make the photographs in the field. I am not really a big fan of this because if I have to make these photographs, I cannot catch the fish, and I want to catch the fish. I like to photograph in the day after the collecting trip. But Heriberto, when he comes with us, he takes these photographs in the field, which is really good and interesting because the colors are most interesting and shining in just after capture. And how we catch them. As you may see in some videos from Leandro Souza, other friend, they have some different ways to catch plecos in the Amazon. They generally make some diving, and they manually catch them. We generally use cast nets. This is the most important tool today to our work. So this is the best way, at least in our region, to catch these fishes. This mesh is really small, so we can capture very, very small fish with 10 millimeters, and it's they get stuck in this kind of net. So this is a very good and selective net, so we can capture nearly everything with it. But this is just effective in a very specific period of the day. So we'll see later. In the Amazon, you see that they can catch the plecos in any time because they go to the places they are, and they get them in the caves, in between the stones and this stuff. We wait for them to go out, and then we catch them. It's a little bit different. We have also these hand nets. The bad thing about them is that although they are very good and useful, they are quite heavy. So by the end of the day, you are having some pain in your back, but it's worth it, definitely, because we can capture very, very small fish in between this grass you can see here. We have some plecos, some very small plecos that live in this kind of habitat, especially the cascudinhos, the Hypostomus. They love this region, and we also want to capture them. Of course, we want to capture everything, to be honest. This is the seine net. It's a very useful way to catch fish, but it's not exactly so good for every kind of pleco. We noted that Loricariidae, so Loricaria and Pseudomyodon, and etc., you can capture them quite easily with this method. But we also learned that this way is good, of course, but you have a lot of trouble having to deal with tons of Carassidae, Piabas, and etc. So this may turn the event a little bit hard, because you need to get all of these scaly fish that we don't care too much. But as long as we capture them, we take them home. So to the Loricariidae. We also have some interesting strategies. We use the seine net in the rapids. So we place the net like this, and then we start to move these rocks in the bottom, and then the fish will come to this bag here, and then we have them trapped in this big. This is a very interesting way to capture Ancistrus. This method was extremely effective in all sites to capture huge number of Ancistrus. In this quite shallow places, you can see here it's not so deep, and there are several rocks here. So we start to move these rocks, and then the specimens hiding behind them and below them, they start to flow to this bag. So after some movements in these rocks, we just lift this net, and then we have generally a good number of fish inside it. But this is in reality my life. When I have my friends with me, like Hansavers, the guys from the university, my other friends, the staff you saw in that picture, I always take them to the places during the day because they love to take pictures and everything. But to me, that's the only time of the day I'm really interested in working. This is the time to capture the really interesting fish. You need to start generally at 8 p.m. Things start to get really good. But 10 p.m., 11, things are very good, and you can go to 2 p.m. and then 2 a.m., sorry, and you can have really good samples in these cases. I don't know, it's kind of strange to me because I'm talking alone to my computer, but I really hope you're all listening to me and seeing everything. Please, Kelly, if you note that everything goes wrong,
good.
please.
Everything's
thank
good.
you.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I'm feeling very solitary here, but that's okay. So this is a very good picture of my life. Every week, at least one day per week, I am in the river, and we are trying to get interesting fish, and not only new stuff. Of course, we want new stuff, but some known stuff. They are very interesting because they are quite rare in collection. So that's the kind of fish you only get if you really try hard to get them. So basically, we have two ways of documenting everything. This is a beautiful German hand of Hans Evers, and this is a very interesting and beautiful specimen we captured in Mato Grosso. Hans and Heriberto, they like to take photographs in the field. To me, as I told you, it's quite difficult because I like to get them and I leave they alive, and in the morning of the next day I take the photographs. So when I have Hans and Heriberto, they can get these photographs in the sites, which is really nice. To me, this is my photographic studio. This is my kitchen, and my wife is really happy with this kind of situation. I have some buckets, a lot of fish, and I take them to this small aquarium, and I make what I call scientific photographs. So the fish you're seeing here, it is alive, but it is under an anesthetic, which you all may know, I think, clove oil. You take some drops in the water and they go to sleep. If you check them, if you turn the belly up, you see the heart beating. And if you take them to the water again, they will wake up again. That's not the case of the fish I capture. They all go into formalin after that, but I could make them alive if I wish. This is a beautiful pseudoemiodon I captured last week. This is a very well-known fish, but it's an interesting fish to get photographs. So this specimen is alive, but it's sleeping. This helps me to make the photographs in the studio with a tripod and camera and everything. So after that, we clean this background, and you have the black background and the fish, the whole fish, so you can see the colors and everything. What's the importance of this kind of photograph? It makes you guys from the hobby happy, so you can see the fish alive, but you can also check details in color pattern, and you can see a clean image of it. You can have beautiful photographs in the aquarium like Hans Evers do, but sometimes you cannot see the whole fish or the whole body of the fish, and to the scientific production, these photos, they are not really interesting alone because they don't show the general color pattern of the fish. So we like this kind of photographs, so you can see them alive, but the whole body of the fish. This is hard work, but by the end of the day, I'm quite happy to have good photographic material of everything we capture. And the result of this will be a book. We will have this book published this year in PDF, and in the next year, you have a hard copy of it. And I really hope you're all interested in this material. So let's go to some expeditions. We had a good expedition with Hans Evers. We tried to capture some fishes for Hans, like Aspidoras and Corydoras and stuff like that. But I was always looking for everything new. And we had the opportunity to visit the type locality of Corydoradinae. which was really interesting because this is a quite historical place. NAC visited it a long time ago. Sadly, no Corydoradinae, but we captured some very nice Plecos. Here you can see two kinds of habitat. This is in the right. You can see a rapid. Oops. You can see a rapid, and in the left you can see a place deeper and with slower current. So the fishes in these places are completely different. You expect in this kind of place in the left, like Loricariidae, Pseudomyodon, things like that. And in the sites like this, you can expect Ancistrus and some Hypostomus with big mouths. So this is what I call the buckets of happiness. A lot of catfish, especially Plecos. So here you can see some very interesting Plecos we got in this place. This is Hypostomus chimera. I described the species some time ago, and this was basically the first taxonomic work I did. I started with this fish. This was the beginning of everything. And this photograph is material by Hans Evers. As you can see, the quality of the photograph is absurd. And Hans, he can construct the river in a small aquarium. We call it the biotope, right? And then he can get these photographs and in a place very similar to the places we captured this fish. We have also Hypostomus lachyrostris. This is a very interesting pleco for aquarium, in my opinion, because they don't get too big. This is a young adult, but when they get bigger, they get very spiny. And I know people from the hobby, they like spiny fish, and this is a very compact Hypostomus with very spiny pectoral fins and body plates. This is quite stressed fish, but when it's settled, these blotches are very marked. So it's a very beautiful fish to have in an aquarium. This is one of the most interesting fish we capture in the strip. This is possibly something new, but the most similar species to it is Farloella jauruensis. But we know that Farloella jauruensis presents a bicolor pattern in the rostrum, and this is not the case of this fish. So we kept it as something possibly new. It's a very interesting fish. We captured, I think, 5 specimens with lots of efforts. This is the Ancistrus. We have Ancistrus in every water in Brazil. You can have Ancistrus. This is a young specimen, and we have also adults. This is, as you can see, a quite beautiful male. This was apparently the dominant fish in the small rapid. This is Loricariidae coshimensis. Our records, they will change the status of this fish. This fish is currently considered as an endangered species, and according to our results, it's widespread in the Rio Paraguay Basin, so it's not a restrict and endemic species as the authors try to say in the original description, but well, this is a very good news. We can be happy to know that a species is not threatened. And, on contrary, this is a very common species. This is a very young specimen. They are quite beautiful, and I think they do very well in the aquarium. My friend Heriberto is breeding them like hell. They breed easily in aquarium. This is the rarest fish in the site. The Spatuloricariidae evansi is a very beautiful and rare fish. This is the single Spatuloricariidae specimen I ever captured in my life. So it was quite emotion to me when it came. And remembering, we are collecting at day. I can imagine what we could find in the night in the same site. This is a very beautiful but really common species in our region. You can have Pseudomyodon platycephalus in every place. So it was interesting because when I received Hans and other people here, they get crazy with Pseudomyodon, but to us it's quite common. Other very interesting place is the Rio Paraguay. This river is quite famous in Brazil because it's a quite impacted river. And for a long time, it was considered that there was no really interesting fish in it. And thanks to our work, 3 years now working in the region, we have extremely good results, and we proved that the river is full of interesting and new fish also. This, you can see, it's a very big river. So the fishes you can find in this kind of places are very different from small streams and things like that. But we also work in smaller rivers like this one. We have some smaller, they are tributaries of the Taquary, but they're quite smaller, like this one. As you can see, we have a very frequent structure, like you have a pond and a rapid, and the pond and the rapid, and basically you have this this kind of alternating habitats in the river. And when you have smaller water bodies, this pattern is more easily seen, because in a bigger scale you have hard trouble to see this, but in smaller rivers and streams you can easily see that the water body is basically a pond and a rapid. And then so these are very different and interesting places we are visiting. This is, we call it Ribeirão, which is even smaller river. It's not so small that we can call it a stream, and not so big you can call it a river. This is one of the most interesting places in the region. Hans loved it. We have some streams of like this one, the Córrego da Onça. It's a pretty big stream. We captured huge fish in this stream. I think the biggest fish was 5 kilograms Pseudoplatystoma. We captured it in this stream. It was very interesting and nice. And we have very small streams like this one. This is a lovely place for corridors, and it's exactly what we found here. Lots and lots of corridors. But we are not here to talk about corridors. I'm having to be strong. This is a very small stream. Also, you can find Plecos in this place. Some people think about big rivers, but not exactly. You can find interesting Plecos in very small streams too. Like this one, for example. This is a very small urban stream. So what do we have in this region? This is a very interesting species. I understand this fish is not exactly beautiful for the hobby, but to me it's a very special fish. First, because it was the first group that I work at, the Callichthyidae group, where we described the Chimera and the Basilisco, the two Plecos, wood-eating Plecos. And this is the second reason why they are so interesting. They eat wood. So in this case, you can say for sure it's a wood-eating species. Chimera and Basilisco, we have some doubts, but this guy is really a wood-eating catfish. They can get really big. We have some specimens with 500 millimeters, 600 millimeters, standard length, or if you prefer, not counting the tail. So 600 millimeters here. So it's you can get a very nice and good size. You can check here, it presents a very small oral disc and a quite triangular head, deep body. This kind of fish, they really love deeper sites with slow current and, of course, wood, submerged wood. Hypostomus chimera everywhere. This is a young adult. We capture them in good number when they are young, but rarely we can find them in big size. This specimen is 200 millimeters here, not counting the tail. So for this species, this is a quite big size. This is a quite old fish. This was captured last year, this specimen. And we can have sometimes the luck to get them at this size, but it's quite rare, to be honest. Generally, you have them like this. This is Hypostomus bulgari. If you check South America, you see that every basin presents a species from the Hypostomus plecostomus group. And this is our case. We have Hypostomus bulgari. This fish is really beautiful. They can get quite big. This is an adult specimen, but they can get really, really big. The belly pattern is really nice. It is large, dark blotches. The tails, they present these white lines, as you can see in outer fins, pelvics and pectoral. So this is a very beautiful species. They can live in swamps and deep pools. They can get really big, similar to Hypostomus cochleodon. When they are very small, they're very beautiful. This is the only species in the region with white spots. Not exactly white. They can be yellow and reddish, generally yellowish, as you can see here. This is a very young Hypostomus regani, but they can get quite big. These are adults, as you can see. This is the largest specimen we captured. I was really proud of this one. This is a very big fish. They are very, very interesting because they can get caught in very strong rapids and also deeper sides. They can go everywhere and they would do just fine. An interesting fact about this fish is when they are reproducing, nothing can stay in the rapids they are. They stay in the rapids, they get really, really beautiful, yellowish, shining yellow. The females get really big, and you cannot catch anything else in the rapid. I don't think they let other species to stay there. So when you found a place where they are reproducing, you have a hard time to capture everything else. You need to go to other places. So this is a quite big specimen. This specimen was nearly 1 kilogram. For pleco, it's a lot. And the new stuff. This is really wonderful. That's the first new species we found in the Rio Taquari. They have this brown general coloration, and the tail is very peculiar with this brown color, and the ventral lobe is always darker. The spots are more evident on the head, and they start to get faded towards the caudal fin. This is a very common species in the region, but you need to go at night to capture the adults as we go. This fish will be described in the near future, I hope. This is the other new species, very different from the first one. They only live in very strong and dangerous rapids. You have to risk a little bit of your life to capture them. This is the young individual. They are really beautiful. This specimen is around 10 centimeters total length. They have a quite big oral disc and large dentaries. So you can see here around 100 teeth in each side. This is an adult. You can see they have really depressed bodies and a really big mouth. Lots of teeth. It's a real nightmare to count teeth. You have to use a small needle, and one by one, it's really a nightmare. We also have these guys. They are very common. People love to eat them. In the region we live, they can get really big. These ones are the biggest plecos in the region. You can only have them in lagoons and swamps and similars. It's a Pterygoplictis ambrosati. The flesh is really appreciated in the region. I don't like the idea of eating plecos, but I have heard that the meat is very good. This fish is really beautiful, but quite inconvenient when you want to capture fishes in lagoons and things like that. You place your nets and you can capture tons and tons of them in hundreds. This is not a way of saying things, it's literal. In hundreds, it's really a nightmare. But it's a beautiful fish, no doubt. Ancistrus, this is the Ancistrus of the region. As I told you, every region you find an Ancistrus. This is the most common species in the region. We have some non-spotted species there, but I have no photograph of it. I only photographed this white spotted Ancistrus. You can have them in, well, everywhere, basically. We also have Otocinclus bororo, basically the only cascudinho of the region. This fish is really interesting. We found them in large numbers. People usually use the name Vittatus, but the Otocinclus bororo, they present a very specific number of teeth in dentaries, so it's quite easy to recognize them. This is a quite common species, and if you want to capture them, you just need the hand net and move this hand net into the grass, below the grass, and you have tons of them. A curious fact about this fish is that they are generally captured with Paravandalia, the kangaroo. It's very strange, but in the same sites we capture them, there is a good number of the Paravandalia. They have very specific habitat. So if you remove this kind of habitat, you surely lose these guys. They really need this vegetation, this marginal vegetation to live. And this again, the bucket of happiness. This is a Loricariidae bucket. You can see here some interesting stuff. This is Loricaria coshimensis, very common, very easy to capture. But okay, we also have young specimen here. The pattern is basically the same, but we have this one, which is possibly new species. People call them cataphracta, but really doubt the Loricaria cataphracta occurs in the Rio Paraguay Basin. I call them Loricaria preta or black because they have black fins most of the time, as you can see here. This is a young specimen, and this species can get really big, like this one. This is 200 millimeters standard length, which means we exclude the tail. So it's a quite big Loricaria, very beautiful, and they always, when saddle, present these blackish fins, especially dorsal. To me, it's really difficult to believe this is Loricaria cataphracta. I think we have something new here, but from the same group. This is a really beautiful species, Broccoloricaria macrodome. I captured the first specimen in 2018. They generally come small like this one, but they can get really big. This is clearly very young specimen. They generally have this very dark coloration, half of the body nearly black, and the posterior portion, the anterior half, is blackish, and the posterior portion is similar to Loricariidae, but you can see huge pectoral fins, and they get bigger and bigger as the fish grows. It's a very beautiful species. I have people come into our region just to capture these ones. Heriberto came several times just to see them, and you can see why. It's a very beautiful catfish. This is our friend Pseudoemylon platycephalus. There is also Laticeps in the region, but we never captured it. We also capture specimens with the platycephalus pattern. This fish can get really big, like this specimen, but we have good material of it. In general, a very beautiful species. I think Heriberto is also breeding them in captivity. So it's a really interesting, nice fish for the hobby too. This, we capture them in adults, but this is a record, interesting record of a baby, really small, Loricariidae platymetopon. This is quite common, but it's really hard to get small specimens like this. These fish, they have the lips are very different from the remaining Loricariidae. They have some pillow-like lip. They get really big, and this is a quite rare record of a very small fish. This fish presents, I guess, I don't know, 5 centimeters. It's a really, really small. They get this golden belly here. I saw this pattern in other Plecos when they're small. It's some kind of, it's not exactly plates. It's a tissue which glows really golden. This is very interesting. This is Loricariidae lanceolata. To me, it's quite strange to have very small species like this in everywhere in South America, but they say everything is lanceolata, so we use this name. As you can see here, this fish can have greenish glows in the body, so it's a very beautiful and interesting species that you can easily find in the Rio Paraguay Basin. This is another species of Loricariidae parva. It's a very small fish, very beautiful and sand lover fish. So if you like pseudophilic fish, you definitely want this one. It's basically a very small Loricariidae. They are very interesting. And I think this is the last expedition I want to show you for the Rio Ranches. This is what I consider to be my most important project right now. We received some money from the BSSW. Daniel is here, thank you. We basically looked at the half of the basin, and now with the aid of OCA, we were able to put more money in, buy new nets, and do additional expeditions, and we still finding some interesting stuff. Let me tell you a little bit about this river. This river is very interesting because we have a sinkhole which runs, so we have a sinkhole. The river runs nearly 1 kilometer below the ground in a karstic tunnel, and then it appears again. So we have 1 kilometer's gap. The fishes from below are quite different from the fishes from upstream, the sinkhole. We work exactly with the fishes upstream, the sinkhole. This is the kind of stream you see in the region. Very small, crystalline water. Look at this water. It's really nice and beautiful. We can have, these are very small streams. Very cold water. They are not so, they are quite narrow, but they are deep. So here you can have water by your neck. It's quite difficult to collect in this kind of habitats. We have these temporary places You can capture, for example, some Loricariidae in this kind of habitat, especially Loricariidae, for example. They love this kind of lagoon swamp structure, especially when they're young. So this is a typical stream of the region. You can see the water is quite nice. Rapids, of course, we want rapids. This is the kind of place we like to go. We take photographs. This is a very nice place too. So we have a rocky bottom. Then at night you see this place filled with Plecos. This is a very deep site where you can capture the bigger guys. This is a very interesting place to go. So here we have a rapid, and here we have a quite nice waterfall. So this is one of the most interesting waterfalls of the region. We capture fish upstream and downstream this waterfall. This is me throwing a cast net. You can see it's like something very crazy. Just hidden below this waterfall, you have a very magical place filled with interesting fish. And we have an Ancistrus, very special Ancistrus here, you see. So this is a very nice place to go to visit, and we found some endemic species in this kind of places. And also in this very small, this is not exactly a stream, it's just a fountain, a water fountain. And you can find some fish in this place. This is the other kind of habitat we are sampling. This is a very nice place. We found some Hypostomus in all of this. As you can see, it's not exactly a safe place. Sometimes it's quite difficult to do our job, but well, we have to go. We want to see what we have. So we risk our lives basically every time we go, but I think it's worth it. This is a very different stream. As you can see, it's quite bizarre, but we found some interesting Plecos here. This kind of place. It's also interesting with a lot of aquatic vegetation, as you can see. So the place is really nice. As you can see here, we have lots and lots of sites, of collecting sites. And in every place, we can find interesting stuff. This is the first new species I want to present of this place. This is a new Hypostomus, a new dwarf Hypostomus. They can get like this at maximum. This is a young male. When they are really mature, they have really big hypertrophied odontodes in the body plate. So they get very, very spiny, especially in the caulopeduncle. They are really beautiful, as you can see. This is the fish in question. This is a young specimen. They are really beautiful. And they are very small, and even when adult. So I think the hobby would like them. This is the second new species in the region. They have slightly triangular head, deeper body, and we generally found them in the temporary pools. They love sand. They love deeper sites, and they are also dwarf. So you have at maximum this size fish. Basically everything upstream the sinkhole is dwarf. Basically everything, which is really interesting. This is a very special specimen, and I hope this will be the holotype when we describe this one. And this is the third new species we have, very common in the region, very easy to capture. they can have this yellow pattern, but also a darker pattern. You can see the mouth is really big, lots of teeth. So this guy have also a depressed body. This guy loves fast current, so you need to go to these kind of dangerous places to capture them. You also have a very small fish of this size, maximum. So sometimes they have this slightly darker pattern, but generally they have this yellow pattern. As you can see here, we can have dark and clear pattern in the same bucket. As you can see, these are all adults. If you open them, you see they are having already reproductive events. And you can see by the odontodes and development of plates and everything that it's an adult fish. We have 3 years collecting in the region and doing very, very long expeditions, and they are just like this size. No matter how big or deep is the site we're capturing, they are always small, like this one. And like every other species in the region, the largest species in the region is a new species of Leporinus, which is like this at maximum. So I don't know what happened to this place, but everything there is basically dwarf. And we also have this guy. I don't know if something new, but they're quite odd. They came in low numbers. They have gigantic mouths and very dark pattern, very depressed body, very big heads. I don't know if it's a variation of something or it's something different. We need to find the answer. To be honest, all of these species they will not be kept in Hypostomus for so long. In the near future, I hope we have them in different genera. But this one is really something that seems more like an Plecos, for example, than a Hypostomus. So this is a big question right now, as we have a few material with this pattern. And this is basically the most precious fish in the region. This Ancistrus is really interesting. You can see here that the mouth is something bizarre, very big, lots of teeth, and a very darker pattern, fins with darker pigmentation. And sometimes of the year you can have them entirely black, and in other times of the year you have them spotted. The spots greenish a little bit, but what calls my attention is that you can see the mouth in a dorsal shot. If you get the fish in dorsal view, you can see the mouth outside of the body. So this is really something you don't see every day. So it seems a deformed fish, but it's not a deformed fish, except for these pectoral fins and pelvic fins here. But this is not something that it's caused by malformation. They are quite strange. As you can see, they present a very big mouth. And this fish is also under description, like many others in the region. So here's a small video of them. This is really one of the most interesting, beautiful species in the region. And this guy is really something I would love to see in the hobby. Heriberto now is trying to breed them. I think he have at least one success with them. And we plan to have these fish in the hobby in the future. And really, I hope to see these fish in the hobby, because this is, I think, the most interesting way to show how important the fish fauna in this region is. This idea of hiding the fish is, it's not working, to be honest. And maybe if we show we have some rich rivers and we have a lot of farms, beautiful species, maybe we can stop damming process and everything like that. Well, I think I talked too much, as usual. I really want to thank you. There are several people to thank. Here is a general list of everything I want to thank. Some of you are here. Really, thank you. I'm really happy to be part of this kind of event, and I really hope you enjoyed. And if you like the work I do, if you think it's worth it, please, you can make donations for our projects. This is my PayPal account. If you like my work, if you want to support this kind of work, if you want me to continue to do what I do, your help is very important. Here is a small joke with Steven Grant, which basically donates every month to me. I have several collecting trips thanks to him. And really, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really happy, and I hope you have some questions for me. Thank you.
I'm sure they do. Thank you very much. And you did not talk too long. Do not be afraid of that. They are all fish nerds and they love it. So don't be afraid of that.
Thank you.
So let's see. What's our first question here? Have you ever found clutches of pleco eggs on the riverbanks? I assume he's asking.
Yeah. This is kind of sad to me, to be honest, because especially for Loricariidae, they drop the eggs when we collect them, and this is kind of sad because we know we basically killed the entire. Yeah, it's kind of sad, but yes, basically Loricariidae, Pseudomyodon, Loricaria, and Rhina Loricaria we found. These ones are the most common, and we also have some in submerged logs. We can also find some Ancistrus eggs eventually, yes.
Okay. Let's see. Dragon Lair says that they want to know more about the Loricariid with the long filament on the tail. I think that was the bucket picture where the filament was like, whoop.
Yep. Yeah, I think these guys, we found them in deeper sites where I guess they have a really poor site, and they generally, yeah, at least when we put them in tanks, they do this kind of movement with the filament. So the filament does this kind of wavy movement, and I think they use this to feel the surroundings. But this is interesting because apparently species that likes deeper sites, they present larger filaments. This is really a very interesting relation.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, let's see. Canisteo Valley Cichlid says, when you said that you opened them up to check for reproductive section.
Yeah, there is a it's a quite sad nickname, but Stephen Grant uses to call me Dr. Death. We open them just to check, because sometimes we see some works, people saying fish is a male, fish is a female, but we need to really prove this. Sometimes it's easy to prove. Corydoras, for example, we have lots and lots of information. So if you found the papilla, the genital papilla, you know you have a male. But for Plecos, in some cases you have nothing. For Hypostomus, for example, you have nothing. And what we found is, if a female is not full of eggs, you cannot really tell them apart without opening them. So yes, we in trying to find some ways to distinguish them, we did this. But for Hypostomus, at least, this is really, really difficult. Yeah.
Gotcha. You're still figuring out how to tell them apart. And let's see. Oregon Outdoors Chris says, I'd love to hear more about the Hypostomus. Are there no Hypostomus or the O. flexilis group that far north?
We have, in the uplands, we have just Ochocinculus. But if you go to the Pantanal, then you can find some other interesting species like Hypostomus, which is a very nice fish. But here in the uplands, we have basically two species of Ochocinculus, Vittatus and this Bororo, which you can distinguish by the number of teeth. They're very interesting because it's bizarre because that grass you can see in the margins, it's not really natural. It's something that people plant here, but they really love this kind of place. I wish we could see the what you can say the original habitat because this is very anthropic modification. You have this grass in the margins of the river, and this is basically the place where we capture them, this Ochocinculus, and they love to scratch the leaves in submerged leaves. So it's a very interesting. Although we have only species here, it's I guess it's a very interesting fish, and I think I never see the species in the hobby yet. I guess so.
We gotta fix that. North Wales Zoo says, being so familiar with their wild habitats, do you think a lot of the reason for some captive breeding difficulty of some of the species is from very low water flow or other issues?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In the first time I think, I don't know if Daniel is still here, but I was in German in a couple of years ago, and people were talking about fishes from the Rio Paraguay Basin as fishes from the Pantanal. We need to understand that the Rio Paraguay Basin is not exactly Pantanal. Pantanal is just a portion of it. And the water of Pantanal is very peculiar. And the uplands, you can see a very different kind of habitat. So if you have species exactly from the Pantanal, you need to provide that, I guess, more acidic water with leaves and logs and everything. But if you want to keep fish from the upland, sometimes you have to have not acidic water, and you have to keep them in fast flowing current. A lot of these guys, they really depend on this current to live. So I think, for example, Ancistrus is easier, I guess, but there are some Hypostomus that we tried several times, and if you do not provide them a fast flowing place, they will die. So and it's important to mention that the water in Pantanal is it's quite hot, while in the uplands we have cold water, quite cold water. So you need to know exactly from where you're getting your fish. I know the name Pantanal may get some value to the fish, possibly, but to be honest, the most interesting species are not in the Pantanal; they are in the uplands.
Okay. All right. Tom asks, is there any danger from development of the Rio Paraguay, such as what is happening with the Xingu?
Yes, but not so strong, because the Rio Paraguay Basin is not exactly a good place for dams. We have a very similar problem with the Paraná Basin, which is a sister basin to the Rio Paraguay. But in the Rio Paraguay Basin, we have different problems. Generally, cattle, deforestation for several reasons, like agricultural purposes, and of course we have a little bit of overfishing, I guess, in some places. We have people that don't respect the reproductive gap we need to make. And I know this is not just for us, but it's quite difficult to make people understand something quite simple, that if you don't let them reproduce, uh, there is no sense of it. Yeah, there's no sense in it. But no, we are not exactly with the same problems with the single, because the potential for dams here is quite low. So we have other problems with other kind of business here. But the dams, which I consider to be by far the most problematic thing you can do for a water body, is the damming process. We found several examples that dams can be much worse than anything else. And it's really sad, because you have a lot of destruction, and every time you can see a picture of the Belo Monte in single, you see that there is no power being generated there. It's just destruction, sadly. Yeah.
It's very sad. Tom also asks, have you done any work with Dr. Sabaj?
Mark, well, Mark is, yeah, it's he's a friend. He works with kind of different groups. We have I visited him. He hosted me in his house when I was in Philadelphia to look at fish, and we found a new species of Corydoras in the museum, and he will work with us to describe it. But Mark is more like, I think, Doradidae, things like that, and he's not really a Pleco guy. And Corydoras, it's Corydoras and Plecos. If you work with Hypostomus, for example, you can be really solitary. Corydoras is it's a group, for example, which nearly no one is working with, and Hypostomus is far worse. So we are always trying to make this kind of partnership. And I think my first work with Mark will be released in the near future with a new Corridors from Venezuela.
That's very cool. I'm actually very surprised that there's not more being done with Corys, because from a hobbyist perspective, everyone loves Cory cats.
Yeah.
Across the board, just loves them.
Yeah, I think my group, our group, is basically the only one really working with it. And it's, if you look at the story of the group, it's been like that for always. If you look, Nysendens Brooker worked with them for some years, and now our group will work for some years, and there will be much more to do in the future.
Okay. Cosmin asks, what are the general water conditions? So he probably has a fish from one of these areas. He's asking about like hardness, pH, temperature, oxygen levels. You mentioned lower temperatures already.
Yeah, I can send you. In fact, we have some places in which we got these measures, but right now I cannot say the numbers to you. But if you wish, you can. Well, I am quite active on Facebook and in the aquarium groups. If you want to call me to talk, I talk with basically everybody, especially. I like to talk about fish, so if you want to talk about it, I can take you the exact numbers if you wish. But what I can tell is that we have water tending to the acidic in some places here in the uplands, and we have quite cold water here. So this is a very interesting structure, because people want to make tanks with the fish from here, thinking about Pantanal, and this is basically the problem. So I can send you, if you wish, these numbers, but you have to be cautious regarding the origin of our fishes.
Because it can't be generalized, basically. There's just too many.
Yeah.
habitats going on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Canisteo Valley Cichlids also asked, when you say that the water is cold, what do you actually consider cold in this instance?
I guess, well, we can have 24, 25 sometimes Celsius, which is at least for our bodies are quite cold. And you can be surprised when you see that in the basically in the morning you have really really cold, and in the midday you can have warmer, but in most parts of the day you can have 25, 24, which is considered cold if you compare with the typical Pantanal. Yeah, the typical Pantanal is really hot. It's really difficult to work in these places because everything bites and the heat is absurd. And I don't know how the fish can survive these places because brockies, for example, you can have them in place. I use the name brockies because it's easier for you to understand what I'm talking about. They live in really warm places with lots of organic matter. It's really bizarre how a fish can survive this place. But here in the uplands, you can have. What I mean is, when the water reaches some parts of our bodies, it's always that cold.
Tell the difference, yeah. And I'm going to end with this question, because we'll make a little plug here. Do you have a topic for your talk at the NEC later this month?
I have, I think I provided the name of the talk. I don't remember right now, but I will focus on other groups, not exactly Plecos. I want to show you the scaly fish and the other groups we found, which are also interesting. So I will talk about collecting trips. It's, I think I found out that talking about collecting trips is always more interesting for most people than talking about bones and dead fish. And so I will talk about collecting trips again. I'll talk about collecting trips again, but I will focus on other groups.
I'm actually trying to grab this because I'm helping with the technical stuff. So I actually already did an ad for you that's gonna come out later. So your title's here. The Exploring Central Brazil Fishy Adventures in the Upper Paraguay River Basin. So similar but different.
Yeah. Yeah, I will talk about scaly fish, basically knife fish, non-plated catfishes. So I think you like to pay a visit. I think
definitely, and for only $7, that's a good deal. But I want to thank you again. We're going to do raffles now, but I wanted to get the chance to say thank you. We really appreciate you coming out and presenting for us. And at least I'll see you later at the NEC, and hopefully many of the 60, 70 people watching will also hop by. So thanks again.
Thank you very much.
All right, Sherry. If you would like to spin the wheel, we'll start with our first raffle prize. All right, Diane D. If you could let us know in the chat which you want, either the $50 gift certificate or the omega-1 food, and then we'll spin again for our second prize winner. And we got Christina. All right. So, is Diana still here? Diana's still here? Diana. Just trying to hang out until I can see if she's still around. All right, well, she's not popping up, but we will get in touch with you, Diana, and see what you want. And then after that point, we'll reach out to you, Christina, oh, there you are. Okay. Diana wants the gift card. So Christina is getting the Omega-1 color flakes. So thank you, everybody, again for coming out. And we will see you next month, hopefully. Have a great weekend.